morning. Good morning. I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you to a news conference that's going to get underway shortly in Lorain. This is concerning a shooting by police in Lorain on October 7th. It was the early morning hours of October 7th. A young man or a man was seen allegedly breaking into cars by someone in their home and called police. And it was that phone call that said the man had a gun in his hand at the time. And when police arrived, there was a short chase, foot chase, and police ended up shooting the suspect. Now, the suspect did survive, from what we understand, is in stable condition, but facing criminal charges. Before this gets underway, and we'll make sure you don't miss a second of it, I do want to show you our Harry Boomer went out to the home in question the day after the shooting, or later that day. So let's show you, just to give you a little bit of background, what Harry Boomer was able to find out that day in Lorain.
She looked at the video that she was watching. She saw somebody walking through our area and trying to open his car.
Juan De Leon's 19-year-old daughter was startled by her phone that alerted her to some activity outside her family's home on West 17th Street in Lorain.
She went crying to the room, waking up me and my wife like, is somebody here?
Lorain Police say a witness says he appeared to have a gun in his hand. Police arrived and gave chase, but the suspect ran between some houses. They gave chase and fired at him.
I actually heard 2 shots the last night when I was actually playing my game.
According to a neighbor, the young man, the suspect, ran this way. He heard a couple of shots, and then as I look around, I see a couple of bloodstains in this area.
When I actually went to the kitchen, that's when they were taking him into the ambulance.
I'm going to break into this as the news conference is getting underway by the police chief there in Lorain. The investigation is being handled by the Elyria Police Department. Let's take you there live.
To the media and answer some questions. Very important case for law enforcement use of force is Graham v. Connor. It basically says a three-factor test for consideration the reasonableness of use of force by officers. And that is severity of the crime, the threat of safety to officers and the public, and whether a suspect is actively resisting. Another important case is the state of Taylor versus Salt Lake City. This case spoke about the split-second decisions that we have to make on scenes of incidents that there's not a lot of time to process, or not a lot of time to make an operational plan or to think through what we're going to do. There's 4 factors that pretty much guide whether a suspect poses a credible threat or not. And we kind of talked about it in Graham v. Connor, but whether the officer ordered the suspect to drop his weapon and the suspect's compliance or non-compliance, whether any hostile motions were made with the weapon towards the officers, the distance separating the officers and the suspect, and the intentions of the suspect if we can determine them at the time. Ohio Revised Code 2911.01, aggravated robbery. No person in attempting or committing a theft offense, as defined by the ORC 2913.01, or in fleeing immediately after the attempt or offense, shall do any of the following. That's very important. It's a very important phrase right there. 1, have a deadly weapon on or about the offender's person or under the offender's control, and either display the weapon, brandish the weapon, indicate that the offender possesses it or uses it. So even the mere motion of reaching for your waistband or like a shoulder holster or reaching for a weapon, that's all within this law. A deadly weapon. It's pretty much anything that can inflict serious injury or death to somebody. In this case here, it's a gun. Officer Isaiah Taylor, he is the officer that engaged the suspect, and he's the one that used deadly force. He's been here since 2019, and I believe it's about 5 years of service with us. He's currently a field training officer, and he serves as a mentor to our young officers. Dustin Lee Terry is a suspect, 26-year-old male. He has a history dating back to 2016 for drugs, theft, and weapons violations. He currently has had active warrants for failure to appear, for DUS and traffic charges. Funny enough, he completed a 1 year of good behavior, probation type 1 year good behavior, on October 6th, 5 minutes before he did this offense. Now, whether he planned that or just timing, I don't know. His criminal history, the suspect in 5 separate cases since 2016. 3 have been drug investigations, 1 theft, and 1 weapons violation, which he was on that 1 year good behavior probation on the weapons violation through our department. Sienna Plaza, for lack of a better way to put it, she was the getaway driver. She transported him to the scene. She has a prior history of assault through our department, and she provided the firearm to Terry. The actual incident details: October 7th, 2024 at 12:05 a.m. Again, 5 minutes after his 1 year of probation ended. It happened at 1321 West 17th Street in Lorain. On the same date and time, Lorain County 911 operators received a call from a resident in the 1300 block of West 17th Street. She stated that she saw, through her live home surveillance camera, a white male wearing all black clothing breaking into her vehicle, which was parked in her driveway. She also stated in the phone call that she believed the male was in possession of a gun. Now we're going to play the 911 call for you guys. And we have to play it more than once. Someone raise your hand and we'll play it again.
There's somebody breaking into my car.
Okay, what is your address?
1317 Washington Street.
1317 West 17th, and are you just watching them right outside?
No, I have a camera. I can see them from my phone.
Are you at home
Yes, I am.
though? And this is going on right now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what kind of car is it?
It's a Chevy Cruze.
Okay, what color?
White.
Is it parked in the driveway?
Yes. Well, kind of. It's in the garage, but it's next to the road.
You said, so is it in the driveway?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Can you tell if that person's black, white, Hispanic?
He's white. He's wearing all black. Black hair and brown eyes.
Okay. And do you, and is this like real time you're watching?
Okay, he already ran. He opened the car, and there is another car. It's a way vehicle. I cannot see anything in the vehicle.
Okay, what direction did he go running?
Okay, he's not running. He's still by the vehicle. He's by the car. He's he's looking around. I'm pretty sure he's armed, too, and he's looking around my house.
Okay, okay, ma'am, why do you think he's armed?
Because he has something on his hand, I'm pretty sure.
You said he has something in his hand?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I'm not trying to watch that much because the camera, it has a alert, and it goes off, so I don't want to.
Okay, ma'am, we need to go back to what is in his hand. What makes you think it's a gun?
I don't know. It was sticking out, and it looks like a gun.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to freak you out, but this is just get in the house because I can hear movement outside of my sleep.
Okay. All right, just let me, if he takes off, I need you to tell me what direction. Now, do you see any suspicious
in front of my house.
I'm sorry?
There was a white vehicle in front of my house.
There's a white vehicle you don't recognize in front of your house?
Yes. I don't recognize it.
Okay.
He hasn't set up the camera yet, so he's not in front of the house. But I can hear him on my side of the house, which is the right side.
You said you can hear movement that somebody else is around the house?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, my units are coming into the area. They're probably going to check around before they make contact with you. Okay, and that might be my officer you were hearing too, because when I updated them, that's when they told me that they were there.
Okay. Am I able to go get my parents?
I'm sorry?
Am I able to go get my parents?
Okay, yeah, we can go to faster than we're going to go ahead and disconnect. They will come in contact with you, okay?
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
The dispatcher did a great job asking all the questions and drawing them out of her. The complainant was actually very calm considering what was going on in her house. The person with a gun looked like a gun. So they both did a really good job giving us information. Right here is the suspect breaking into the car. This is what he stole out of the car after he broke into the car. Officer Taylor was the first to arrive on the scene, and he began checking the caller's vehicle. Officer Krauscher, he arrived, I believe, second, and he spoke with Mrs. Plaza, who was in the white vehicle out front of the house. You'll hear that he asked her some questions if she saw anybody out there, but she purposely gave false answers to mislead the officers. And she said that people were down the road a little bit by a silver car, hoping that we would respond there immediately instead of staying where they were at to investigate. Our officers thought something was suspicious, and they stayed put, and they did more investigation at the scene of the vehicle break-in. As they were checking the vehicle in the surrounding area, the white male wearing all black clothing and a bandana covering half his face, he walked out from the backyard from behind the house. Officer Taylor first spotted the suspect, known now as Terry, walking down the driveway, and he immediately began giving commands to Terry to put his hands up, and in a couple other directions he gave him about being tased. He also announced that he was from the police department, so he was identified. At the same time as Terry was walking, Officer Krauscher observed a handgun in Terry's right hand and immediately began yelling, "Terry, drop the gun, drop the gun." At the same time, again, Officer Taylor deployed his taser, but it was ineffective, and the suspect, Terry, he took off running. Taylor engaged in a foot pursuit while other officers were converging from different locations, and you'll see on a different slide, the officers did a great job spreading out and kind of encapsulating the whole entire area so he couldn't escape. During the foot pursuit, Terry continuously brandished the gun in the direction of the pursuing officers, specifically Officer Reese in his direction. Just prior to Officer Taylor discharging his duty weapon, Terry was still brandishing the gun, and he begins to turn towards Officer Reese, who's immediately behind him. Officer Taylor fired 5 shots at Terry, neutralizing the imminent threat he posed to our officers and others in the area. Officers on scene secured Terry in handcuffs, so he no longer posed a threat. He was conscious. He was still able to move his hands, to move about. He still had all faculties about him, so he still posed a threat until he was secured. Terry was transported to Mercy Hospital and later transported to Cleveland Metro, where he was treated for multiple gunshot wounds. Since then, he's been released and currently in the county jail for aggravated robbery, felony 1, carrying concealed weapons, resisting arrest, and obstructing official business. And there's possibly some other charges coming after the investigation is over. Sienna Plaza, she was charged and booked in the county jail on charges of complicity to aggravated robbery, which is also a felony 1. Again, the incident remains under investigation by the Lorain Police Department, and additional charges may be forthcoming. And as you all may recall at all my press conferences, it's imperative that we have transparency. So we don't do our own investigations. We call other departments to come in and do it, and they have total control of the investigation. We don't take part in it. We only do what they ask us to do and provide what information they asked us to provide when they ask it. So we don't get involved at all. Here is the gun that he was carrying and brandished and then later dropped after he was shot by officer. This is an overall view of where everyone started from. Terry was actually back here initially, somewhere back here. We have no idea exactly where he was back here. But when Officer Taylor first spotted Terry, Terry was right here where the yellow dot is. Taylor was right here. Krauser was right here. Reese just arrived, and Sergeant Perkins just arrived. And Plaza's car, she was parked right here. Yep, and now you're going to see an animation of where everybody went until Terry was neutralized. So if you need to see this multiple times, just somebody again raise your hand so we can play it again, because it's kind of confusing the first time you watch it. So we want to make sure you have a clear view of what everyone was doing. See it again? Do it again. Okay. Just do it one more time. Now, special note here, Sergeant Perkins, he came around the house this way, and when you see the body cam footage, you're going to understand what happened and why it happened. But Sergeant Perkins and Officer Reese, you'll see were directly in the line of fire, and had Officer Taylor waited any longer to neutralize the threat, it is very possible that Terry may have engaged Sergeant Perkins, who surprised him around the corner, or these officers came here and there was a gunfight and there was multiple friendly officers in opposite directions for crossfire issues. So this information here is from Elyria Police Department. We didn't have this information initially. But Sienna Plaza, she confessed to providing Terry with the firearm, and she also confessed to transporting him to the location. The stolen tool was discovered inside the trunk of the vehicle utilized by Plaza, the one that she occupied. Body worn camera videos. We're going to go through a series of videos. We're going to play them full steam. We're going to repeat them full steam. Then we're going to go backwards to a slow motion version of it, and we'll repeat it as many times as we need to for y'all to get the clear picture of it. There's some foul language here. It is what it is. You need to call her?
No. I'm actually waiting on my dad. My hose just fell in front of my car.
Okay.
So my thing's like being really.
Are you seeing anybody over here near the toy car?
Where?
Is there a toy car over here?
No, but we were walking over here by over car.
Okay. And then she said that they're walking down there by that silver car somewhere. That was just, he didn't have a flashlight with him or on at the time. That's why it's so dark. But the main point of this first clip is to show that the plaza purposely misled the officers on scene to say that the people walking or around the area were down by the different car a few houses away. That's the point of this right here. So, body camera footage again. So as I said in multiple press conferences that I have, that the body cameras, they tell a story. It's not always the 100% the way things went because of the convex lens in the body cameras, much like a peephole in the door. It's kind of round. It's a round shape, and the distances and everything is distorted. So you don't see a true, like one-dimensional type when an officer's on scene. You don't see it true like us looking at you directly. What helped us here is we had multiple cameras on scene when the incident happened. So because we had so many different vantage points, we were able to put it all together for you and show the true incident and how it happened because we had so many body cameras there. So that's always a point I want to bring up. It doesn't always tell the correct story until you have multiple in the area and you're able to analyze all of them and put them all together at one time. This is Officer Krauser, body cam. He was down, if you remember the other slide, he was down by the car, by the street in the driveway initially. Let me see your hand. Hey, drop the fucking gun. Drop the gun. What did anybody hear there? Did you guys hear a taser go off? Need to hear it? You need to see it again real quick? Do it again. So, just another point here is when the taser went off, the incident ended, looks like the suspect within 5 seconds. That's very fast. Not a lot of time to do a lot of processing and making a plan together. They did so well because of their training. They're trained to dissect and to act as soon as possible, and these guys did a great job doing it. So you heard a taser, a pop, and a kind of a like electrical charge, which one probe hit, and one probe did not hit, so it didn't get a good connection. So it was ineffective. Let me see your hand. Hey, drop the fucking gun. Drop the gun. This is a slow motion version of the same video. Let me see your hand. Hey, drop the fucking gun. Drop the gun. Do it one more time, Jake. This is the car that was broken into.
Let me see your hand.
Gun in his hand.
Hey, drop the fucking gun. Drop the gun.
This is Officer Reese. If you remember, he just arrived on scene and was exiting his vehicle kind of by the street and by the sidewalk.
He's calm. He's yelling.
Shot fired. Shot fired. Start back here now.
Get back. Get back. Roll over on your stomach.
Roll over. Roll over. Roll over.
Get back.
Get
Go.
A couple things here to point out. I want you to listen to the officers. They gave great verbal commands. They were clear verbal commands. Each one of them were very clear. The suspect ignored every single command that he was given. He chose instead to keep the gun in his possession. He chose to brandish the weapon. He chose to flee. He chose to turn towards officers with the weapon in their direction. Everything you see here is a choice that he made. We react to incidents. We react to people's movements. We react to what they do. Also, at the end of this video, or close to the end of the video, you see the officer immediately call for life care to come and render aid to the suspect. No hesitation. Everyone's voice. They're very calm. They're collected. They're thinking through the process. And again, they just did a great job. Do it again.
He's calm. He's yelling at someone. Shot fired. Shot fired. Start back here now.
Get back. Get back. Roll over on your stomach.
Roll over. Roll over. Roll over.
Get back.
Get
Go.
Slow motion, same video.
He's calm. He's yelling at someone.
Gun.
Shot fired. Shot fired. Start back here now.
Get back. Get back. Roll over on your stomach.
Roll over. Roll over. Roll over.
Get back.
Get
Go.
Now, we'll do it one more time, slow motion, but I want you to watch his body as he's running, and watch his hands. If any of you in here run, or back in the day we were all in high school, when everybody played sports and ran, you run straight ahead. You swing your arms. You don't run like this. That's not a normal gait. That's not a run.
He's calling. He's yelling at someone. Shot fired. Shot fired. Start back here now.
Did anybody see what he was wearing on his hands by chance? I didn't even notice what he was wearing. He's wearing rubber gloves, surgical gloves. That's to keep his fingerprints off the car and off the weapon. This is Officer Taylor's body-worn camera. As you recall, Officer Taylor is the one that actually engaged and neutralized the suspect. That's Croucher right there.
20H John David Paul 5082. Let me see your fucking hands. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands above your head. It's the police department. You either listen or you're gonna get fucking tased. Put your crossfire.
So points here again, it was clear that Officer Taylor was worried about crossfire from the officers who were all on scene. If you recall back to the other slide with the round circles, you recall that Sergeant Perkins was around the other side of the house, the other house. So they were going to meet in the middle pretty much, in a bad situation. And Officer Taylor, I think he realized that, and he took action in time before it got even worse. You want to see this again or go to slow motion?
Slow-mo is fine.
John David Paul 5082. Let me see your fucking hands. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands above your head. It's the police department. You either listen or you're gonna get fucking tased.
Ineffective deployment. Didn't work. Gun. Officer Reese. So just one more time, and I need you to look at the view from Officer Taylor's body-worn camera. This is why I'm telling you that the body cameras tell a story, but until you combine more than one body camera, you're only getting a part of the story. Look at the suspect's arm as he's running, and from Taylor's perspective, put yourself in Taylor's shoes, from his perspective, that weapon was pointing at Officer Reese. So I need you to watch that real close so you guys see that.
John David Paul 5082. Let me see your fucking hands. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands above your head. It's the police department. You either listen or you're gonna get fucking tased.
Taylor did not know he was armed at the time. He didn't see the gun. That's why he tased him. Sergeant Perkins is going to come around this side over here. Right here's Reese. Arms up towards Reese. So this video here is just going to show two things. It's going to show how the officers took a deep breath, calmed themselves down, and went on with business. It's also going to show how well our guys are trained to treat injuries, not only from use of force, but from vehicle accidents or fights or anything else. You know, our guys have saved numerous lives from vehicle accidents and other fights and other victims of shootings with the equipment and training we have and we carry. We spend extra money on equipment bags. Over half the officers have these bags in their cars. It's like a combat field medical kit is what it is. We have 2 combat trained medics that fought in the Middle East and saved lives in the Middle East. They train our officers, and we do training multiple times a year. And this is why it looks so good, because they know what they're doing, and they were able to calm themselves down, and they made it all work together.
We sent all available units over here.
That's Sergeant Perkins.
Bring on. Front seat with the back.
That's Taylor. Taylor ran to his car to get the medical bag to treat the suspect that he just neutralized with deadly force. Sergeant Perkins went to his car and got his bag to treat that same suspect.
Stay in your house. What? Okay, stay in your car. We're working with it. Stay in your car.
They did not know she was involved initially in this incident until that point. Officer Taylor's right here.
He's right. Over here.
Listen to how calm they are.
We're helping you. You got more? Yep. They may not be in this bag. Yeah, they are. We're all in arm. I know it's in this arm for sure. Looks like the side, lower back. Stay in your car! Stop moving, stop moving, stop moving. Where are your glasses? Oh my God. We're here. Keep working on getting that gun. First you say,
That's Taylor right there.
roll to the other side for me. Just like that. Hey, give gauze. Gauze. I got one right here on the elbow. Here, there.
Officer Mott secured the lady because they knew she was involved now. This just goes on to the medical care, so Dick, you can move on. You all will have this PowerPoint. You can go through it as well again if you want to. So we're going to back up to 2023. In May of 23, our pit crew pulled over Terry for minor traffic violations. You know, we get more guns and more bad guys and more warrants out of minor violations of traffic enforcement than anything else we do, which is why we do a lot of traffic enforcement, because we get guns and bad guys off the street to keep the people safe in Lorain. When they pulled him over, Terry, it's our opinion that Terry believed there's only one officer that pulled him over. What Terry didn't know is a second supporting officer was in the car, was outside his car, looking in as the first officer was talking to him. And the officer asked if there was any guns in the car, weapons in the car, and Terry started reaching his hand over to get the gun. It was on the front seat in open plain view. He was literally reaching for the gun to get the gun. The backup officer saw that, and he immediately stopped it. It just shows that Terry's prone to weapons violations. He's not afraid to pull guns on law enforcement. So, go ahead. This is an excerpt from the actual report, and we're getting the report for you guys as well, so hopefully we'll have that today, redacted. This was the gun on the front seat, right over where he was reaching for it. Right here's the console in between the two seats. He was reaching over the console to get the gun. Again, the gun, and he had this magazine. It's probably a 32-round magazine, 25-round magazine, I'm not 100% sure. But this is legal. You can get this. Here's just simple for you guys to have the case number. But he went to county police court with felonies. He pled to some charges, and his sentence was 1 year good behavior and a fine. That 1 year good behavior ended on October 6th of this year. The fine is still outstanding. And you guys can draw your own conclusions from that. That's the end of the presentation. Is there any questions for me about the presentation itself? Because I'm going to have a Leary PD come up in a second here so you can ask other questions. I don't have any part of the criminal investigation. If that's what your question is, I can't answer it. I don't have the information. He does.
Well, my question, it is for someone else, then okay. Is an officer still on administrative leave? What are the next steps for Officer Taylor?
So every officer is involved in use of deadly force like this. They're put on admin leave. They're interviewed, internally by our guys. We immediately contact our psychiatric services, who normally respond the next day or the same day, depending on what happened. So he has been cleared to return to full duty. However, it's my personal policy that we don't force them back until they're ready.
So when can he return back?
He returned last week, but he's not ready to return. So we don't force the issue, which causes more problems in the future. We are dealing with the problems now before they develop into big issues.
Where was Terry shot?
I don't have that information. Lyria will probably answer that question for you.
Was he handcuffed immediately after he was shot? Is that what we were seeing?
He was. So where there's one gun, there's two guns. That's the philosophy of law enforcement. That's what training says. Where there's one gun, there's two guns. If someone can still move their hands and reach, which he could, we secure him. That's just what we do to keep everybody safe.
And Taylor was the only one placed on administrative leave, right?
There was two officers that were right there with him also placed. I place everybody on admin leave, paid admin leave, until everybody calms down, they can decompress, and they can all see our psychologist, who specializes in police stuff. And then once they say they're good to go, then they can come back to work.
So 3 officers?
3 officers.
Okay.
You know where any of the bullets, they hit into homes or anything like that?
Again, that's a question for Leader PD, and he'll be up here in a second. She initially was in her car, and then I believe she got out of her car after he was shot, and then she was subsequently put in a cruiser by one of our guys. Anything else about the presentation? Anything else?
One more question. As far as Plaza, did she try to run away as the same way as Terry, or no, was she compliant?
She was compliant.
Chief, it sounds like, looking at this, reviewing the whole thing, it sounds like you're proud of how the officers handled everything. Is that accurate?
Well, look, it's kind of that's a question that's really hard to answer because their training kicked in. I'm proud of our training program. I'm proud that we spend about $100,000 a year on training. The goal here is train, 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 train. And when you train and train and train, and you do it right, this is what you get. You get professionalism. You get guys who can unwind themselves from a big incident, and they can go back to almost like admin mode where they can focus on medical care, ambulances, gathering evidence, stuff like that. So this is what you get with good training. This is why we train so much, because we get stuff like this, and this is why. So I'm proud of their training, yes. They did a great job here. They followed the book. They did the job they were trained to do. And they neutralized a threat. And that's the bottom line.
Is it safe to say that you believe it was justified? To say it in simple words?
I'm going to refrain from that until the investigation's over, because I just don't think it's fair for me to say that. We're here to give you the facts. The people deserve the facts when the police do their job. The videos are here. You all can make your own assumptions, your own opinions, your own thoughts on it. I provide you the information, you digest it, and you spit it out.
Going back to the Ohio Revised Code that you had talked about at the beginning, there was that line about fleeing. So is that to say that officers
Go back to that.
Can have a reason to shoot someone even if they're running away, if they have a firearm?
So it all depends. So again, this is why I pointed out to you that the canter or the body language and how he was running. If you jog like this, because I don't jog like that when I used to jog. I run straight. And if he was trying to merely get away, he'd have been full force running in one direction. It seems to me that if I was in his position and I was trying to escape, one, I'm not carrying the gun. I'm dropping the gun. Two, I'm just running. I'm not swinging my arms back and forth towards the officers with the gun in my hand in a ready position.
And I apologize if you already mentioned this, but that gun, was it loaded in that instance?
It's a Leary PD question.
And Chief, for us, it looks like this whole interaction was very quick, just a couple minutes.
5 seconds from the taser to the shots fired.
What would be going through an officer's mind on that scene, trying to assess what's going on?
Again, they go back to training. This is why we train so much. A lot of departments in the country don't have guys that can do what they just did and to unwind themselves from panicking or from overreacting and just going back to a normal heartbeat almost to do the rest of the mission. Again, it's all training. Cap? This is Leary PD Captain Lance.
Appreciate it, Chief. Thank you. Morning. I believe it's still morning. Yep. Good morning, everyone. My name is Captain Bill Lance. Last name is Lantz with the Elyria Police Department. Just first and foremost, thank you to the media for showing up and kind of telling the story. Thank you, Chief McCann, for your leadership with the Lorain Police Department and your demonstration of transparency both for your department and for your city. I think it's very commendable that you get up here and you provide this information and put it out there. With that being said, on October 7th, 2024, Chief McCann reached out to Chief Bill Pelko of the Elyria Police Department requesting an independent investigation into this particular incident. That's when I was notified, and members of the investigative unit with the Elyria Police Department were tasked with conducting an independent investigation into this particular incident. There's certain details moving forward. I did field some of the questions. I heard some of the questions. There's certain details with this being an active and ongoing investigation that I probably won't dive into. One thing that I did want to share with the audience here today is kind of talk about some of those next steps. So with us, what we want to first ensure is that we complete a thorough and comprehensive investigation, try to gather as much information and pull that information, examine that information. There'll be some additional items that are sent out for various testing to confirm and corroborate the information. Ultimately, at the conclusion of this comprehensive investigation, we will present the investigation to the Lorain County Prosecutor's Office so that they can review the matter. From there, it is up to their office, that position, to make the determination on how the case will be handled. At times, the case could be just immediately identified as completely justifiable. It's very apparent. Or in certain situations where there may be some additional things in the air, the prosecutor could also make a determination to present the matter to a grand jury. So those steps are kind of in the future. Again, our primary goal is to complete this investigation diligently, accurately, and fairness and impartiality, and ultimately present that to the prosecutor's office. With that being said, I did hear some of the questions. I believe that there was one question about how many times the subject was, who had a question, how many times the subject was shot? Yes, sir. So the subject was struck a total of 4 times. I'm not going to go into too much particular. He was struck, I believe, 3 times in the trunk area of the body, which is the main component of the body, and once in the arm.
And if I heard right, there were 5 shots total?
5 shots total, correct. And then somebody asked about any rounds that might have been located or discovered in a building.
Yes.
I believe 1 round was recovered from a garage. Any other questions for me?
And they said also that the chance that they could see more charges. How likely do you think that is?
I think just based off of the charges that are out there, it is definitely something that will be considered, any additional charges. As far as ultimately, that's going to come down to the prosecutor's office as far as making the determination. Based off my understanding of both kind of the initial, because this one's a little bit different or unique. Oftentimes in these situations, the suspect may succumb to their injuries where we don't even have to deal with the criminal charges. This one is a unique case because the suspect survived his injuries. He's out of the county jail right now. So ultimately, the prosecutor will review the totality of the case and determine if there's any additional charges that should be considered.
Anything that the subject said afterwards that would lead you to believe that he had intended to fire an officer or anything like that?
I'm not going to discuss that part of the interview. I can share with you the suspect has been interviewed, as well as his the complicit female. In this particular incident, we did conduct interviews with both of them, and that will be presented.
Is that suspect out of the hospital at this point, or what's his status?
Yes, it's my understanding the suspect is out at the hospital and presently out at Lorain County Jail.
Yep.
Any other questions?
In your, as you look at the investigation, in your professional opinion, do you believe this was handled the right way, or could have been handled differently?
Well, handled the right way, what I believe is, as this situation has unfolded, I believe that things have been addressed appropriately. And by that, what I mean is the officers encountered the initial incident. They took action and appropriate and in line with their training and experiences. The most important thing as far as handled the right way that I see is, yes, it was, because Chief McCann reached out to a separate independent agency, asked them to conduct the investigation into the matter. So again, by demonstrating that transparency, I think that gives a lot more confidence to the community at whole, that the police aren't investigating themselves, that it is a separate organization conducting the investigation. So I believe that it has been handled appropriately and accurately.
What else would you be looking at other than what was presented here?
So again, this one is a unique case because there's the potential spin up of criminal charges. I can tell you, kind of investigating and gathering the initial details from the what was reported as a vehicle break-in, and then subsequently, once the suspect is identified being in possession of a firearm during the incident, I believe that investigation in and of itself, I think that we're pretty comfortable with everything that we gathered thus far. So now it's kind of the second half spinoff of that, of the officer involved shooting component of the investigation that I'm very comfortable with where we're at, the evidence that we've obtained, everything that Lorain Police Department had at hand was given to us and provided to us, our agency, in a very quick manner, so that we can start going through that data to determine, or that evidence to determine, is there anything else that we could need. And Chief has provided everything that we've asked for up to this point. So that's pretty much that.
Was the gun loaded?
The firearm was loaded, correct. The suspect's firearm, correct.
Is there a timeline on your investigation?
The timeline will be, because we are at the mercy of other laboratories and all that, and how quickly they can process the evidence and where that falls within their hierarchy as far as how quickly it needs to be processed. So we're kind of at the, we got to wait for them to kind of do what they do in order to kind of put that final wrap on, okay, where we can examine, this is what we know, this is what we believe, does this evidence out here match up with what we already know? And that will be the last step. So most of these, generally a month to 2 months is the timeline, so that's what I would anticipate around that time period. Any other questions? All right, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Dan DeRose with 19 News as they wrap up the news conference into the October 7th officer-involved shooting. You saw many different angles of video, body cam worn video into this. Now, this is obviously just one side. This is the police giving their account. The Elyria Police will now handle the investigation from here on out. You got to see much of the video. Granted, it wasn't exactly the clearest video because they're showing it on a screen. They will more than likely provide us the raw of those clips. All in all, you see Dustin Lee Terry. You heard the 911 call. The woman whose car was being broken into, she tells police, I think he has a gun. Dispatcher did an interesting job of continuing to question, why do you think he has a gun? What is it about his hand that you think? So she didn't just take it at surface value and call it out to police and say he had a gun. She was very inquisitive to the 911 caller as to why she thought it was a gun. Police arrive. Also very interesting, we did not know this side of the story. The first person they make contact with is a Sienna Plaza. Turns out she has already admitted that, yes, she drove Dustin Lee Terry to that home to allegedly break into those cars. She also admitted to providing him with the gun that he had in his hand when he came up the driveway. 2-3 officers make that initial contact with Terry. One taser is deployed, it misses, and then you saw the chase begin between 2 homes. 5 shots fired by one officer. 4 of those shots hit Terry. He does survive. That's one of the reasons we showed you or let that video play out, is because we know he did survive. He's already been released from the hospital and is in custody by Lorain Police. Our Noelle Williams was at the news conference. She will have a complete wrap-up of this case when we start our early news at 3 o'clock. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.